Hey there, and welcome back to the new video from CSS-Tricks. In today's video we will learn how to create a login and registration form using HTML and CSS step by step. As you can see on my screen, I have a login form with two buttons. When I click on register, it will display the register form, and when I click on login, it will take me back to the login form. So in this video you will learn how to create this example of a login and registration form. Before we start, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. First, we need to open a new folder right here in VS Code. Here we have all the files that we need for this video. We have an image for the background, images for the social links, an index.html file for the HTML code, and a style CSS file for the CSS code. As you can see, I have already connected the style CSS file to our index.html file. Now let's go to the body tag and create a new div with the class hero. Inside this div we will create another div with the class form box. Next we will navigate to the CSS file and write the CSS code for the class hero. The CSS properties for this class will include set to height to 100% and the width to 100%. Set the background image using a linear gradient and specify the image file name. Set the background position to center and the background size to cover. Set the position to absolute. After saving the CSS file and HTML file, we will open our HTML file in Google Chrome, and you will be able to see our background image. Next, in the CSS file, let's write the code for the class form box and add the following properties. These properties will set the width and height of the form box. Position it relative to its parent container. Add a margin of 6% on the top and bottom, and auto on the left and right to center it horizontally. Set the background color to white and add a padding of 5 pixels. Then please refresh your HTML file in the browser. This will apply the new styles to the form box, and you should be able to see the changes reflected in the displayed form box. Now let's go back to the form box div and create a new div inside called button box. In the CSS file we will write the properties for the button box class as follows. After adding these properties, please refresh your HTML file in the browser. You should now see a light shadow over the button box. Now let's go to the HTML file and add two buttons. The first button will have the button type set as button and the class name set as toggle btn. The button text should be login. Next, we need to copy the button code and create another button for the registration option. The button text should be register. After adding these buttons, please reload the page. You should now see the two new buttons. Now let's go to the CSS file and add the following properties to the toggle btn class. After saving the CSS file, please reload the page to see the changes in button design. Next, to add the color to these buttons, you can provide additional CSS properties. Here we are adding a new div with the ID set to btn. Next, in the CSS file, let's write the properties for the btn ID. After saving the CSS file, please reload the page to see the changes. You should now see a new div element with a gradient background color and rounded border radius. Now, after creating this button, let's make new div class social icons. After creating the social icons class and adding the social media icons as images, let's add some properties to the social icons class and the social icons images. In the CSS file, add the following properties to the social icons class. This will center-light the social icons and provide a margin of 30 pixels from the top and bottom. Next, add the following properties to the social icon images. These properties will set the width of the images to 30 pixels, provide a margin of 0 pixels on the top and bottom, and 12 pixels on the left and right. Add a box shadow, set the cursor to a pointer on hover, and apply a border radius of 50% for circular appearance. After saving the CSS file, please reload the page and to see the changes. The social icons should now have the specified styling applied to them. After creating the social icons, let's create a form with the class name input group. Inside the form, we will add an input field with the type set as text and the class name set as input field. The placeholder text should be user name. Next, duplicate the input field code to create another input field. Change the placeholder text to enter password. After that, add an input field with a type set as checkbox and the class name set as checkbox. Add the text remember password for the checkbox. Finally, create a new button with the type set as submit and the class name set as submit btn. The button text should be login. After loading the page, you should see the two input fields, one checkbox and one login button. Now we can add the CSS property of style to these elements. In the CSS file, let's write the following properties to style the elements. After saving the CSS file, please refresh the page to see the changes. The input fields and the login button should now have the specified styling applied to them. Next, in the CSS file, let's add the following properties to style and the checkbox and span elements. After saving the CSS file, please refresh the page to see the changes. The checkbox and span elements should now have the specified styling applied to them. To create the register form, we can duplicate the existing form and make some modifications. First, copy the entire form code and paste it below the existing form. Change the placeholder of the second input field to email and the text for the checkbox to I agree to terms and conditions. Finally, change the button text to register. After saving the CSS file, please refresh the page to see the changes. Now the login and register form should be properly positioned side by side. To add clickable actions for the register and login buttons, now we can modify the HTML file and add JavaScript functions. In the HTML file, modify the register button code to include the onClick attribute with the value set to register. Next, add the JavaScript code inside the script tags. After saving the HTML file, please refresh the page to see the changes. Clicking on the register or login buttons should now trigger the background movement from left to right or right to left. Now, to hide the second form, we can add the overflow hidden property to the formBox class in the CSS file. After saving the CSS file, please refresh the page to see the changes. The second form should now be hidden, and only the activate form will be visible. Thank you for watching the video, and I'm glad this tutorial was helpful. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Good luck!